No one wanted to come to my table. They see estate sales and they're like, I'm not dying.
Yeah,
And
right.
we're in a senior community. They do not want to even hear anything that I have to say. They literally like recoil. And I'm like, no, you can have the sale while you're alive. I was like, you don't have to run.
Welcome to Talking Retirement, brought to you by NJ Life and Health. I'm your host, Ken Connolly, and each week we sit down with fascinating guests who share their insights, experiences, and expert advice to help you make the most of your golden years. Today's guest is Sharon McKenzie-Venning, owner and operator of Mackenzie Estate Sales and Real Estate Services. Born and raised in Brooklyn, this former high school speech teacher discovered her passion for estate sales after moving to New Jersey when decorating her new home on a budget. What began as a practical solution transformed into a thriving business now celebrating its 10th year. She also co-hosts the Local Neighborhood Experts podcast with loan officer Kyle Farrell, where they discuss coffee, neighborhoods, and real estate tips throughout Ocean and Monmouth counties every Wednesday. In today's episode, we explore the fascinating world of estate sales with Sharon, from the difference between garage sales and estate sales to the practical and emotional challenges of downsizing. She shares captivating stories from a decade in the business, such as finding $5,000 in a mattress, managing homes with unique collections like one with 400 clocks, and navigating complex family dynamics during estate liquidations. With her unique blend of professionalism and humor, Sharon brings warmth and wisdom to a topic many find difficult to address. Let's dive into this amazing episode with Sharon.
Well, I'm really excited because you were kind enough to invite me onto your podcast a few months ago, and now you get to be on mine, so I appreciate that. So Sharon, you do a lot of awesome stuff, not only for seniors, but people in just the general Ocean and Monmouth County area. So tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, first of all, thanks, Ken, for having me. I had to track you down a little bit, but it was great that we were able to finally meet and hook up. So I am Sharon McKenzie-Venning, and I own and operate Mackenzie Estate Sales and Auctions and Real Estate Service. And basically what that means is that we host estate sales. And an estate sale is a large, organized sale of all your personal belongings.
Okay, so you also, just so everyone knows, have an awesome podcast too. So where can people find you on your coffee podcast?
Yeah, so we're also the Local Neighborhood Experts, and we're on, we're on YouTube and we're on Facebook. And we drop a new episode every Wednesday, and we talk about coffee, we talk about real estate, we talk about local events. So it's a little mixture, hodgepodge of everything, but primarily we want to focus on finding an amazing cup of coffee in a really cool neighborhood. We want to highlight the neighborhoods as well. So we actually do a couple of fun facts about the neighborhood, and then we sprinkle in some real estate advice in there as well, because I'm also a real estate agent. So it's kind of fun. And I do it with Kyle, he's a loan officer, and I'm the real estate agent.
Yeah, Kyle's a super nice guy as well.
Yeah,
You guys
really
are both
cool.
super hospitable. Find some really cute spots. So yeah, you own an estate sale company. Now,
Yes.
estate sale to me is something that, even though I'm in this industry, I don't deal with estate sales a lot. So what exactly constitutes an estate sale? Like, why would somebody want to get one?
So there could be a couple reasons. Sometimes when people are moving from like their forever home into like a smaller home, they have a lot of excess stuff. As you know, like you think about your house and think about all the things that you have. Like you don't need to have 20 platters. You don't need to have 20 pots. You don't need to have like a million vases. So when you have basically the bigger your house is, the more items you have. So then now when you're downsizing into a smaller space, you really need to liquidate. You don't need to have, again, 20, and maybe you're not living your life the way how you used to. Maybe you're not having all those dinner parties. Maybe your children have moved out the house. So you don't have to have all that excess. So now when people are downsizing to a smaller home, they can have an estate sale. That's one reason. Another reason that they're going into assisted living. They're moving into an assisted living, and now they're leaving their smaller home into an assisted living. You can't bring a lot of things to that space. So people have an estate sale at that time. People are getting divorced. They need to have an estate sale because they're dividing assets. And also, unfortunately, when people pass away, their children or whoever want to liquidate as much as possible without throwing things away. So, and the estate sale is the best way because you're not going into the landfill. It's just a great way to recycle pre-loved items.
Yeah. So speaking of the pre-loved part, one of the things that pops out to me is that people might want to downsize and they might think, oh, I do need to downsize. But do you ever step into a situation and you say, well, we can get rid of this, this, and this? And they say, well, not those things. Like, do people ever kind of fight for certain things?
Yes, sometimes I have to like decline the sale. Actually, I'll go in to have a consultation, and they don't have enough stuff because of what you just said. I want you to get rid of this, but not that, not that, and they start to, they really are sentimentally attached to pieces, and they just don't want to sell it. So then we would say, well, you just don't have enough for an estate sale. It has to be. I mean, your estate sale is considered everything that you own. So all the jewelry, the car, the boat, the tractor, the every single thing in the house that you own is considered an estate sale. If you start to not want certain things in a sale, then it's not a lucrative endeavor, and then it doesn't make any sense for us to do it.
So you're basically coming in and saying, I need carte blanche. We need to have everything on the table. And maybe it's not everything getting sold, but we have to go in with the mindset of, we're probably going to get rid of like 75% of this and sell a very high percentage of it.
Yeah, it has to be a large scale sale. If it's just a couple things, I have a lot of people that go in and they start giving things to charity, and then the family comes, and that darn brother-in-law comes in and he takes all the tools. So you can't have family come in and start to say cherry pick, as we call it, the items in the house. It has to be a mixture of luxury pieces, economy pieces, and premium pieces. It can't be bargain basement stuff. That's bargain basement now goes into a garage sale territory.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was actually something I'm glad you brought that point up. That was something I was thinking is, what is the difference between like a true estate sale and just throwing, some junk on the front yard and saying this is a garage sale? Like, as an estate sale, you're looking for, I guess, higher ticket items to sell and actually make a return back. Is that the goal?
Well, an estate sale, like I mentioned before, is a large organized sale of all your personal belongings due to a life event, a major life event like moving to an assisted living, divorce, or death. A garage sale is a small sale that you have outside, usually through the garage, because of things you don't want or don't need. So the garage sale is more of a bargain basement kind of mentality, $1.50. An estate sale is luxury, premium, and economy price items. So that's the difference. So when people say I'm going to a garage sale, you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna haggle 50 cents, a dollar, that's the mentality people have. An estate sale, they understand that there's a major downsizing event that happened, and they're going to get, of course, it's still going to be reduced pricing, but it's not bargain basement pricing.
Okay. So yeah, this is all great information, by the way, Sharon. When you procure all these, higher ticket items, these more premium items, as you said, where exactly does the selling take place? It's obviously not in the front yard. So once you get a large percentage of this person's estate, where do you physically sell it?
We physically sell it in the house. So we actually would set up the house almost like a showroom. So when you're walking through the house, it's a staged showroom that we make sure it looks beautiful and everything. And the higher price items are tagged. There's some things that are on tables, but mostly we just like to use the furniture, and we like to stage the tables and so on, just to make it look very presentable, very inviting. And then people like coming to the sales. I mean, the whole point of coming to an estate sale is the experience. They're not just coming to get a discounted price. They're coming to see what Sarah lived on the hill. I always wonder what Sarah's house looked like. They want to come into Sarah's house. Seriously, they want to come into Sarah's house. They want to go into Sarah's closet. They want to check out Sarah's bathroom. They want to check out the kitchen. So they really want to have that feel of how Sarah lived, because they always wondered about Sarah. Or the people that don't know Sarah, they just want to see that house. That house is amazing. And it's just an experience. It's a hunt. It's a psychological game that people play that love to go to these kinds of things.
Yeah, so I know you said you put a tag on the items. I think that's a precursor for my next question. Obviously, garage sale culture is heavily based on haggling and trying to get a deal. Do people try to do the same thing at the estate sales? Like say, oh, you're saying 500, I'm going to give you 200 or something like that.
Well, everything is research. Like the high ticket items are research. So we frown upon haggling usually, but I mean, it depends on what it is. So it really depends. So we look it up, and then we consult the client, and we let them know, like, and of course it's not eBay pricing, it's estate sale pricing. So even though you see something on eBay, we can come down a little bit, but there's certain things we can't. So if it's a collectible piece, like say a Louis Vuitton bag, a luxury bag that everyone knows, they don't have sales. So you can always, that bag stays true to price. So if we have a bag at the estate sale, we could price it for $1,000, $1,500 and get it. So certain things we just don't haggle on. But then maybe a hammer, we'll haggle on a hammer. So it depends on what the item is.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I'm sure people
Yeah.
try to,
Oh
flex a
yeah.
little bit.
All the
No,
time.
we're good.
Yeah, we're like, okay, it's fine. No, you don't have
Yeah.
to worry. But then people get upset. What do you mean you're not going to haggle with me? I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's not it's some people come in for the haggle, but then they realize because estate sale is almost like a culture. Estate sale culture is there's only so many companies around. So there's maybe about 10 in the area. So you kind of know who you can do that kind of stuff with.
Okay, so you said if there's a culture to it, do you find there's almost like an estate sale following? Like
Oh
people know where
yeah.
these things are and they
Oh
go
yeah.
constantly? Like, do you see the same people over and over
Yeah,
again?
it's a social event. I get a lot of regulars. People know me by name. They know my husband. They know my children. They know my parents. They know everything about me. They know my background. I mean, they know. I mean, because they come all the time, and they'll say, "Who's that? Who's that, Sharon? Is that your dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my dad." And then they'll go up to him and like, "Oh, yeah, no, I know Sharon since blah blah blah." So they really, it definitely is it's definitely a form of social interaction that they like to come to, and then also they come to buy stuff as well. So yeah, it's fun.
It's always cool when you find those little, subcultures of people that are just
Yeah.
like finding something they really love, and it's cool to see them all get together and continue to do it. How exactly did you get into this? Like, what brought you into estate sales? And, it's just an
Um,
interesting field to have a career in.
It's so funny because where I'm from, they don't have estate sales. So I'm from New York originally, born and raised in Brooklyn. I was teaching in high school, a speech improvement teacher, my master's in education, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I taught 14 years. And I love teaching, love Brooklyn, love that my life. And then I moved down here and I bought a house and I had to decorate my house and I was broke. I didn't have any money. And I was like, how am I going to buy a couch? How am I going to buy this stuff? And people around me was just like, you should go to estate sales. And I was like, what's an estate sale? And they were like, oh, just go. And I'm like, so listen, Ken, I'm a little bougie. So I was like, I'm not going to estate sales. I'm not buying anything secondhand. That's not me. I don't know who that person is, but like, how dare you tell me to go to an estate sale? And they said, Sharon, just go. So I went. And I mean, unbeknownst to me, I mean, it's an amazing treasure trove of just items that you can get. And then you quickly see what kind of who you could go to, which sales are better sales, which area are better sales in terms of what you're looking for. Like you could get a couch, you could get pots, you could get anything that you can imagine. And then people were coming to my house after and they were saying, where did you get this? Your house looks amazing. And I'm like, estate sales. So after I decorated my house, and then now I'm thinking, what am I going to do for a living? I was like, I don't want to go back into teaching. And my friends were like, you should just open up an estate sale. You go every weekend. And I'm like, I don't know anything about antiques. I don't know anything about vintage pieces. And they said, well, you will find out. So I did. And I went to Indiana. They have a school, Repert Schools of Auctioneering. And I learned how to be an auctioneer. And I got my certificate and I came back and I started the estate sale company. And 10 years in, so far, very good. And I'm very successful. I mean, really good. People are amazing. And then it made sense to marry real estate in there because estate sales and real estate go hand in hand because if you're going to sell everyone's personal belonging, it makes sense to sell the most lucrative asset, which is the house. So I've incorporated that into it as well. So we have the real estate services so I can sell your personal property as well as sell the real estate. And then we also have clean out services. My husband does a clean out. So, but yeah, so that's how I started. I really started from me buying a house to learning about estate sales to now actually being a company, which I love doing. And then, what's the good thing is that within the whole estate sale culture, since there's only 10 companies that do this, we all kind of know each other and we're all very friendly. So even at some point, like I'll call up a company and I'll say, hey, I can't do the sale. Do you want to do the sale? And we trade sales back and forth with each other because, there's only a few of us here and we're all very friendly. So it's nice. It's a nice dynamic.
Yeah, that's cool when there's a rising tide raises all boats mentality. People aren't really competitive, they're more
No.
collaborative. And I think that's really nice to see.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll have a high-end sale where it's more art, a lot of art, and then there's an estate sale company that handles that. He's really good with art. He's an art major in school, so I would give him all my artwork, and then he gives me all certain work. So we kind of like trade sales, which is nice.
Nice. Is that kind of like in Pawn Stars where they're like, oh, I'll bring in an expert kind of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, it's true. Like I had a sale, when was it, in February, and it was all antique pieces, more antique. And I know antique, but he knows antique. So I usually call in a professional to come in to just spot everything. And he did a great job. He priced everything out for me, so I didn't have to do that because it's very tedious to look every single thing up. And it was over, I would say, 400 clocks in that house. So it was good to have someone with that eye, that critical eye, to just go and do that work for me. But yeah, that's what we do. We kind of trade each other's services for free. We just, well, I do anyway. So I just, yeah, for free. Yeah, we just go in and just do a quick run through, and it's really they're really great people.
I just want to repeat. You said that house had 400 clocks in it.
400 clocks. Yes, correct. 400
Where were they
clocks.
stored? Was it just all over the walls?
All
Like,
over the walls. That's what his people have a collection. That was his proclivity. He loved clocks. He was a clock guy, literally a clock guy.
yeah.
Yep.
No, that's cool. I
hmm
guess kind of building off that point, what are some of the cooler things you found in these estate sales? I'm sure you find just really cool knickknacks and historical antiques. Like, what are some of your personal things you found that are so cool?
I mean, not necessarily. I don't think it's cool, but I mean, to the person, they have like one person had clowns. There was just clowns everywhere. I mean, everywhere. There was clowns, a clown clock. There's clown dishes. There's clown. So there's really bizarre pieces I would find, but nothing I would say yet. I know 10 years in, nothing that was really crazy, but I mean, I found money. That's interesting. Like we were moving and we found like $5,000 in the mattress, not in the mattress, like underneath the mattress in a secret compartment. And then of course we give it back to the family. But we find money. We find a lot of money. So we have to give that stuff back. So you sometimes they'll say we can't find the diamond ring, and we'll say, okay, I'm sure we'll find it. And because we have to go through the house, because you don't know, these customers come in and they are like Inspector Gadget. They're looking in the most obscure places for things. So we have to, I circumvent that, and we usually find all these things that's in the house. So, oh wait, one thing I could tell you, we saw a ghost. Well, I didn't see the ghost, but a little kid. A little kid came in, and I thought that was the most bizarre thing. She came in and she goes, I see a little boy standing there. And we all looked in the direction and there was no one there. But I'm not sensitive to that kind of stuff. So I didn't see the ghost. I don't know what the little girl said it was there. So I'm like, all right. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. Come out.
Time to leave.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a no for me. So I know you said you also got your real estate license. How important is it for seniors and older adults to think about downsizing as they age? Like, what are some of the reasons you'd want to downsize, maybe proactively?
Well, you know what happens? It's just part of life. Like I had two adult kids now, and they leave, and then you're in the house, and you don't need all the square footage. And of course, this is your dream house, but now the dream has changed because the kids are gone, or maybe your husband passed, or a spouse has passed, and now you're sitting in this 4,000-foot house in North Jersey, and you're like, why am I here? All my friends are down south. Maybe I should move down south, or maybe I should move to South Jersey. So really it's people that are quintessentially downsizing. It could be because finances, you have all of this house and then you have to pay all this taxes. Like, why wouldn't you just sell the house and get a smaller house? So that could be a reason. Or people want to age in place. They want to go someplace where they don't have to worry about the lawn. They don't want to have to worry about the upkeep of the house. They want to just go someplace where everything is done for them. So those are the reasons why people should think about downsizing, because if there's a problem, we could figure it out. We could solve it. We don't have to be like toughing it out. There's so many different avenues now that we can solve our problems. So downsizing is an amazing problem solver to a lot of things.
I think a lot of times people don't want to do it right away because maybe they don't want to think about it, but you did bring up
Yeah.
a lot of great points. What are some of the situations where people are kind of forced to downsize? Like, have you seen people kind of like lose a bit of health or something and they're forced to, and like it speeds up the process?
Yeah, sometimes like I get a call from an adult kid and they would say that my mom fell and she's in the hospital and they told us that she's not coming back home. Like I said, it's a major life event that just happens. Like bam, now you fell, you can't live by yourself anymore, and now we have to sell all your personal belongings. And you look around your house, you have I know I could speak for myself. I have an enormous amount of items and I'm a minimalist. So I can't imagine the people I really don't have much, but I mean, because I'm just really strategic. Like I just get what I need. So for people that are not a minimalist and they have a lot of things in their house, like who's going to sell all that stuff? And what we do is we research the item. So we're not just selling it for $1 or $2. We want to make sure we get the most money for an item. So we research the items, we have the sale, and then we negotiate towards the end, and then we try to liquidate as much as possible. We're pretty successful.
What's the turnaround for these? I mean, I know sometimes people have the benefit of, it's more of a long-term thing. They got a few months, but do people ever need to sell stuff like fast? And this is like a 1 week thing? Like how quickly do you guys have to
we do
move?
a quick turnaround. So I get a call and then I come for the consult. Basically it's a free evaluation. I walk through the house and I can let you know right away if you have enough for an estate. And again, it's not about quantity. It's quality. Like, what do you have? Is it, it has to be, again, it has to be some luxury pieces in there. It has to be some premium pieces. It has to be economy. It just can't be all bargain basement stuff. And as long as you have a robust sale, we can put it together for you. I would say probably we do 1 day to do the setup, 1 full day to do a setup, and then we can have the sale that weekend. So the sale will probably be a Friday, Saturday, or a 3-day sale, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's 1 day prep and then 3-day sale or 2-day sale.
What are some hiccups that could get in the way of that quick turnaround? Are there family dynamics that could come into play that might speed things up or slow things down? Like, what roadblocks do you run into when you're trying to set up these estate sales?
Misinformation usually is the issue. A lot of times that the family members get involved. And when you're speaking one-on-one with someone, it's not so much of a problem when there's a group of, like a couple of sisters or a couple of brothers or the whole group. So I usually like to talk to one person and have one person sign the contract, and that's the person that's my contact person, because usually when there's a group of people, it's so hard because a lot of times they're so sentimentally attached to these pieces, and you have to really break it to them that's not worth as much. And I could give you an example, like sewing machines, the old school wooden sewing machines, when you look at them up on eBay, they're worth so much, but in terms of real estate sale pricing, they're not worth that much, maybe $300. And people it's so hard to explain to them that it's not worth that, because they'll go on eBay and say, look, I looked on eBay, it's worth $1 million. And you're like, well, that's not the resale price for it. That's the eBay price for it. So it's so hard to really be the first person to break it down to them.
Gotcha. Do you find sometimes infighting between family members can make your job hard? I know you said you look for one contact to make sure it's as smooth as possible, but what do you do when an uncle from California busts in and says, actually, I get 50% of this or whatever it is? Like, how do you deal with those over-the-top situations?
Well, I have a contract, so I'm beholden to my client. So whoever I sign it, and I say that I have a contract who had the power of attorney that states that I can basically communicate with them. So if there's an uncle that wants me to talk to them, I would have to say, you have to defer to XYZ. They're either the executive or the power of attorney. I don't know who you are. Thanks for calling, but I really can't talk to you about what's going on. So I could really shut it down in that sense. And that's why I have a contract. That's what I have.
So you just stand your ground and say, I'm not dealing with any BS. We're just moving forward with this.
Yeah, and then sometimes you kind of know the crazy ones. I mean, crazy, I say lovingly, but like sometimes clients are just, they have a type A personality and they want certain things done in a certain way. And I would say, well, maybe I'm not the right fit for you. And then I'll recommend someone else. And I'll say, maybe you can handle that person better than I would. And I would say, maybe we're just not on the same page. And the good thing is, and people kind of accept that. I was like, listen, maybe I'm just not your cup of tea, and it's fine. Maybe you need someone else. And then I'll just like give it to another estate sale person or, something like that. Because again, we're not everyone, as we're not everyone's cup of tea. Maybe they need something. Maybe they need hot chocolate. Maybe they need some coffee. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Say, I'm not a good fit for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay.
So this is something we talk about a lot with estate planners and estate lawyers. How do you manage things when they don't have the right estate planning in place, like power of attorney, trust, everything like that? Does that change the dynamic at all for you?
Yeah, we have to wait. We can't do anything because they'll say, oh, my dad really wants me to have the house sold or the item sold. And I'm like, well, I need paperwork. And I've had a bad experience. I didn't actually go through this, but another estate sale company went through this. So an estate sale company had an estate sale for a client and they sold everything and it wasn't the right person. So when the right person came, the house was empty. So she was calling around to find out which estate sale company did it. And she called me. She goes, "Did you handle it?" I was like, no. I make sure there's a power of attorney. I make sure all the paperwork is done. So I don't know who, but unfortunately, I guess whoever had access to the house had keys, and that other estate sale person just said okay and did the sale. But yeah, you have to be very careful. Just because someone has keys doesn't mean that they are the one responsible, have the authority to sign anything. So yeah, you have to do your due diligence. Because I'm a real estate agent as well, I can go into the public records, and not the public records, I could go into the real estate and find out who owns the house, and I could say, are you such and such? And if you're not, I ask for ID, and if they don't have that, then who are you? Oh, I'm the daughter. Okay, well, I need to see your proof that you have permission for me to do this.
Do you find people sometimes try to skirt around things like that and take control of
Yeah.
situations they're not really in charge of?
Yeah, I went to a consult on Saturday, and she said she's going to have a power of attorney on May 6th. And I said, okay, fine. I said, I could come and see the house and give you an evaluation, but we can't sign any contracts until I see that power of attorney stating that you have permission to, because there's different kinds of power of attorneys, as you know. So you have to make sure that they have permission to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you do things by the book, because we've definitely had people try to ask us to do things that are, and you're just like, no, get out of here. Like, stop.
Yeah,
it.
because now you're gonna go to court, and you're like, they're not gonna. Ignorance is not bliss in court. You're gonna be, yeah.
It's not a thing, no.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing. You can't say, well, I didn't know. Yeah, you have to do due diligence. You have to.
Does probate affect the estate sale process at all? I know in New Jersey, we often have things tied up in probate court. How do you do something that's tied up in probate?
You can't. You can't do anything. You have to wait till it's cleared, because, and then when it goes to probate, it's a whole different kind of sale. Now everything has to be, I guess, inventoried and priced and appraised. So that's a different animal altogether. So some estate sales are a little bit more, you'd have to inventory everything. But like when it's a regular house sale, you don't have to. But when the probate gets involved, it's a little stickier.
Yeah. In terms of the probate being stickier, what kind of specific things happen when you're in probate? I know you said you have to itemize things. Do you just have to submit everything to court?
Yeah. You have to submit everything to the lawyer. Everything has to be submitted to the lawyer. And they rely on you. They rely on your expertise and your know-how to assess prices for every single thing. And you have to make sure everything is written in a way that's clear, nothing ambiguous. So you can't say 10 vases. You'll have to say vase number 1, which the speckle with the bird on the side, and you have to say vase number 2 that's height 12 feet. You have to make sure you're very clear on what you're talking about. So that's more of a detailed. I just can't say 5 vases in the living room sold. I have to say I have to say every single thing.
You have to itemize all 400
itemize
clocks.
all 5. Yeah, all the clocks. Yep. Oh, but no, so funny. Clocks all have names. I remember that was a crazy sale. I could tell you, it was like Bombay clocks. It was all different kinds of clocks, and I know all about clocks now.
It's interesting the places life takes you. You never would think, oh, I'm going to be an expert in antique clocks, but then one day you wake up and that's the case. So it's always cool. I know you talked about finding cash and that kind of thing. Are there any really cool items you found, or anything where someone was like sitting on a gold mine of like they had a random clock that was actually worth like 10,000 or something like that? Like, what are some of the more odd or cool things that people have found as they're digging through their stuff?
I found maybe we found a Rolex. That was the most expensive thing that we found. And then we told the client, we're not going to get anything close to what this Rolex is worth. So I just gave it to them and told them, you have to sell this yourself. But that's the only thing I could think of. But you have to, again, people hide things in the darndest places. So you have to really know where to look. And I mean, in the freezer, people put things in the weird. You think it's under the mattress? No. They're very creative. I mean, you have to look all over the house and you'll see the darndest thing. So yeah. And that's our job. We have to look.
So are you like pulling behind the fridge, like looking under for like trap doors and stuff? Like, where are some weird places people hide this stuff?
Like I said, the freezer was weird. We were just like, I was like, why is it? And we were just like, this looks weird. It shouldn't be in this. And then we opened it up and it was something in there. It was money. It was money in there. And again, we gave it to the client's family. What have we found? No, we're not searching the house, but we're just kind of eyeballing things. Yeah, we're not going to go into the walls.
I was just picturing like some Scooby-Doo, like, bookshelf or something. something.
No, but we look, it's also in books. We look in books too. Some people hide money in books. As I'm saying, people put the things in the weirdest places. We saw a lot of money in books. Like you gotta go through that. The books. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's always interesting. That might just be a generational thing where people are hiding cash in like weird places. I don't think
I
it's
know
ever.
I would forget. I know I can't put any money. There's no money in the books in where I am. I don't put money in my books. I would forget. I would totally forget. I'd be like, what book was where did I hide that money?
Yeah,
It's
it's like
crazy.
you lend the book to one of your buddies, and they're like, "Oh, there's 10 grand in this
Yeah,
book."
right, exactly. Like I'm not putting money in the books. No, that's you're right. It's definitely a generational thing.
What's the goal for you going forward? Is it just to continue to grow the business? I know you're doing the real estate as well. Like, what are your goals in the more short term to help out with these estate sales?
I mean, honestly, I love doing it. I mean, I could jump into any professional at this point. We are all older, and I'm sure this is like your third career. It's like my third thing I'm doing. So we could do it. I mean, we could do a lot more things where we could be like making a whole bunch of money. But I honestly love doing this. I really feel like when I get that call from the daughter that lives out of state, and she's like, my mom passed away, and I live in California. I'm not coming out to New Jersey. Can you help me? And I say, sure. And I could do everything from soup to nuts. I can go through the house, evaluate it, see what she has, say, oh yes, we can do the sale, have the sale, then I could sell the house, and then my husband could clean out the house. So we can do everything. And that's what we love, the fact that we're a full service business, and not everyone can say that. And then you say, well, full service doesn't always is the greatest, but we are. And not to toot my own horn, but we want to make sure that we sell everything. We want to get the most lucrative results, as well as the house. And we know the house is usually the most expensive asset that someone owns. We want to make sure I do a comparative market analysis and figure out what the market is and get the most money for the house. And then cleaning out the house too. That's another business by itself. My husband was in sanitation for 30 years, so he knows how to do that. So we definitely made sure we have a well-run machine, getting everything done. And that's what I want to keep doing. I love doing it, and I do it. Of course, I'm making money from it, but I'm doing it because I love it. So, and I love helping people. And then I like the social aspect too. I see a lot of regulars, and it's just fun to be around people that just know you. And it's it's nice to have a small business that everyone knows your name. So it's kind of definitely something I love to do.
One of the things we talk to a lot of estate lawyers, like I said, and a lot of financial planners. I think one of the things that we really try to get across to people is that there's a general lack of preparation for the end of life in terms of, estate sales. Do you find a lot of people are not prepared for when stuff hits the fan? Like, do you find there isn't enough preparation?
Like when I first started, I used to go to a lot of these networking events where it would just be like all the businesses can go to, like, say, a senior community, and they could set up a table, and then the seniors can come around, and then they could talk to the different businesses in the neighborhood. And I have to tell you, Ken, no one wanted to come to my table because they're afraid of they were afraid of death. They see estate sales and they're like, I'm not dying.
Yeah,
And
right.
we're in a senior community, and it's like everyone is 55 plus. And they're like, they do not want to even hear anything that I have to say. They literally like recoil when they see that I'm an estate sale company. So to your point, yes, there is definitely a lack of preparation. No one wants to think about. And I'm like, no, you can have the sale while you're alive. I was like, you don't have to run. And they're like, nope, we don't want to talk to you. We don't talk to. So I had to stop going. I really don't go to those kinds of networking events because people are so afraid of death. And you think about your life, and I used to live at home with my parents, and then I got married and had children. Like, life is always changing, and people don't even realize that it's just it's an evolution that is going to happen. So yes, you are going to have to downsize one day. And it doesn't mean about death. That's just one choice. It could be just the downsizing to move, the downsizing to assisted living. The divorce, unfortunately, you have to think about, you're going to have to liquidate your items. And it's just part of life. It's a thing that happens. And wouldn't you want to put it in the hands of a company that's going to handle it with care? And that's what we do.
Oh my God. We see it all the time with life insurance and estate lawyers and across the board.
You say Medicare? Oh, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And I get calls and people say, well, I'm turning a certain age. I'm not going to tell you, but I think you can guess. And I'm like, I'm guessing you're turning 65. They're like, don't say it out loud. I'm
Yes,
like, I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of
Um,
shame with getting old. I mean, it's part of life. I mean, and I think it's something that you should think about. You want to make sure that your items are going to be in good hands.
so if you were to give advice to people that are recoiling from your table, let's say you're at this table and we know from experience people aren't talking to you just
Yes.
because they're scared of that situation. What would you tell them if they actually did? Like, how would you tell them to prep and like what they should be looking into?
Get just start to make an inventory of the things that you have. Think about your house, and I like have some people that are really still collectors. Not a lot, but there's some people that collect, and just really inventory your jewelry, inventory if you have the salt and pepper shakers that or your yard rose or your Lennox or whatever it is you have. Start to inventory and start to look and see what it's worth now and what you can actually resale it for. Those are two different prices. And sometimes a lot of people say, oh yeah, I went on eBay and it's worth, I don't know, $1,000, and then now the resale value is a lot less. So get those numbers together so you can know what you actually have, and that's what I would suggest. You start to really think about the higher price pieces that you have in the house, and start to make an inventory and just put it somewhere. And that's what you have to do with estate planning anyway. You have to start to do that. You have to start. I know the estate planning lawyer said that's what they do. They tell them to go through the house and they have to start making a list, because whoever they're going to give, certain things to, they have to start making that list. So you have to start making that list when you start getting down. And I started making a list. I'm now making that list, thinking about what I have. So for my children, so they don't have to say, oh my gosh, mom has all this stuff.
Yeah. Like she's the estate planner, but she didn't,
She
take care
didn't
of
plan.
herself.
She didn't plan. And I moved, since I've been down here, I moved, I think, twice already. And it's crazy. Moving is horrible. Oh my gosh. So it's like you want to start to really think about, well, like I said, even if you're not planning, think about, do I need, I've gone to so many people's houses and they have 20 platters. And I'm like, how often do you entertain? Oh, we don't entertain anymore. And I'm like, so why do you
Yeah.
plant 20 platters? Like you should start to,
Yeah.
just have like 3.
Like, why do you have the full China set? Like,
Yeah,
do you have
and we use paper plates now. So maybe you should think about, start to either, give that away or just get rid of it. Like you have to start thinking like that. That's what I think people should start doing.
What are some things you find people hang on to too much? I mean, are there any items where people are like, I'm definitely not selling that no matter what you say? Is there anything particularly?
I get a lot of people, like say daughters that have their mom stuff and their mom passed away or their aunt passed away or grandma passed away, and they're the holder of all those things. And it's like, I tell them the best thing to do is take a picture of it. Take a picture of that chair. Take a picture of whatever it is that you have, so you don't have to lug that if the 5 moves that you're going to have. People move, I think, like 5 times in their lives. So why are you going to bring that chair from North Jersey to South Jersey to Florida to Tennessee, that same chair that your mom had? Just take a picture of that chair and then put it in the cloud, and then you can look at it whenever you want.
It doesn't need to be in your living room. It can
Right.
still be in there, right?
Oh, and another thing I think also, which I get this a lot. I get this, they put everything in storage and they have no idea what they have in storage. And then they call me and they say, Sharon, do you know someone that's just going to clean it all out? And they could just do it for free. That person doesn't exist. I was like, you're going to have to pay a clean out company to clean that out. So when you start putting things in storage and in the attic, that's not good.
Yeah. I guess, I know you said earlier that you were a bit of a minimalist. How do
I
you
am.
preach minimalism to people? Because I'm a bit of a minimalist myself. I do like to decorate, but I feel like I give clothes to Goodwill like twice a year because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't need half this stuff. So like, how do you get that through to people?
I mean, it's hard because for me, it's like because I do sales every weekend and I look at something like, oh, that's so cute. But if I brought home every cute thing I saw, that's going to be crazy. So what I will do is before I buy something, I look at it and like, am I really going to use this? Do I really need this? Like, am I going to really, the taco holder? How many tacos do I make? I mean, that's what I have to think. Like, am I really going to pull out this taco holder? How often? Like maybe once a year? Then no, I don't need it. Or this slow cooker. Am I the slow cooker type? Am I going to make dishes with the slow? So that's what I think about. Am I going to really do that? And if I know me, I'm not doing that. I shouldn't bring it home. And that's what I say. I'm not doing that. I want to be the taco girl for Taco Tuesday, but I'm not going to be Taco Tuesday.
Nah, it's a good way to look at it. Like, am I really gonna use it? Is a good
Am
way
I
to look at
really
it.
going to use it? And how often am I going to use it? Am I going to just use it once? Like I think one time I bought a fondue set because I was like, I am going to be the fondue lady. I'm going to buy the chocolate and I'm going to make the fondue. And when I have people come over, I'm going to pull out the little stick and we're going to stick it in there and we're going to eat fondue. Ken, am I making fondue?
I'm gonna guess you never did. Did you? Maybe once?
I
Oh,
never
God.
pulled it out. I still have it. So sometimes, yes, I'm a little cuckoo, but
Yeah.
you have to really think I'm not the fondue lady. So
Nah.
no.
I'm just trying to think if anybody in my life is the fondue lady. Like, I
Yes,
don't know if
there
I've
has to
ever
be
been
something you're like, I'm gonna fish. I'm gonna buy the fish. I'm gonna buy the fishing rod. I'm gonna get the hat, the bucket hat. And you're not gonna fish, Ken. You're not going out. You're not going out and fish.
No, it's like one of my coworkers keeps trying to sell me his boat. I'm like, I'm
Right.
not a boat guy. Like, I
When are
know
you?
for a fact. Yeah. Like,
You know how many
no.
people I know that got boats and they probably went out like maybe twice for the year and then they have to pay for that slip
Mm-hmm.
and they don't
The
use
old
it.
saying. Do you know the old saying?
What's that?
The two best days with a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
because you're not gonna
Yeah.
use it because friends and family are gonna come out twice
Yeah.
and then that's
It's
it.
also like, look, if you fish, cool. I've never just been like, let me hang out on a boat. I'm okay.
Right.
But
And you're out there.
that's,
You're like, okay, here I'm out here on the boat. It's a
you ever had
beautiful
to sell
day.
it? Yeah.
Now what? Okay. Guess I'm gonna go
Have
back
you-
home.
yeah. Good trip, you know. Have you ever had to sell a boat in an estate sale?
Yeah, I did, and I've sold one. Yep, I sold a boat before. They're great. I mean, they're definitely a small subculture of people, and you have to advertise it in certain places. There's certain places to advertise boats. But yeah, there's like everything. There's a certain place to advertise certain things, but certain things you can't advertise. Like certain things, like Beanie Babies, are hard to sell, or there's just certain things that don't have that flair like they used to. So yeah, so when I go to an estate sale, I mean a console, I have to really educate the client. Say this is such a niche item, is going to be very difficult. It's like jukeboxes. Jukeboxes are hard to sell. I mean, but they're very pricey, but they're very difficult to sell.
That's a bummer. I thought Beanie Babies were going to be everybody's retirement
Yes,
plan.
I remember when the fad came out. Oh my gosh, everybody got a Beanie Baby, and I was like, I'm not getting that. And they're not worth. I think there's a couple that have the value, but most of them no.
Yeah, but they usually have to be like first edition,
Yeah.
like untouched by time, right?
Yes. You remember Cabbage Patch Dolls?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. That era was bananas.
Do you deal with collectibles too? I guess that'd
Yeah.
be another good question for us. So, like, how do collectibles factor in? Because obviously, it seems like a lot of it is more due to like the condition of it as opposed to the item itself. Do you ever have to get through to people like, hey, you might have a Babe Ruth card or something, but it's covered in dust and scratches,
You
so
know
it's not
what?
worth
The
anything?
collectors, they know better. Like the baseball cards, like you just said, it had the corners have to be perfect. It has to be in that sleeve. So usually the collectors know how to care for the real collectors know how to care for the items. A person that just has a thing in a box, that's not a collecting. Collecting has to be pristine, and most people know. I had a really cool comic book sale the other day, and that was amazing. And the guy had everything was in the sleeve, and there was so many comic book guys that came to the sale. So it's, again, there are a lot of people for a lot of things. So it depends on what you have. You can definitely find that subgroup, and we could host a sale. But it depends on what it is. It can't be like, unfortunately, things like the yesteryear, like Yardros are not as popular as they used to be. Lennox is not as popular. Cut crystal is not as popular. Depression glass is not as possible. A lot of things from yesteryear are not as popular. But people like new things like sneakers. There's a lot of sneakerheads out there. Oh my gosh, sneakers can go for a large amount of money. Some records can go for a lot. So it depends on what it is. NFTs are really popular now. People collect those. So there's different, it's so people still collect. It's just, it has changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Sharon, I always appreciate your time, expertise, and most importantly, making me laugh. You're a very funny person
Oh.
on top of it. So,
Thanks.
So I would love for you to talk about how people can find you if they want you to do an estate sale, if they want you to sell your house, and then one more time you can pitch your podcast after that too.
Okay, so you can find me. My name is Sharon McKenzie-Venning, and my company is Mackenzie Estate Sales and Real Estate Services. And you could just Google me, Mackenzie Estate Sales, and I pop up. Say Sharon McKenzie, I pop up. I'm all over the internet, so I'm easy to find. And my podcast, which I love to do it with Kyle Farrell and me. He's a loan officer, and I'm the real estate agent. And we love talking about coffee in the neighborhood, and we sprinkle in some real estate, and we have a great time. And one thing real quick, I met this guy the other day, and we were talking, and he said he was a podcaster, and he was so serious, and he was like, "Yes, I'm a podcaster," and I was like, oh, "Okay," and he goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, I said all the things I did, and I was like, "And I also do a podcast," and he goes, "What do you talk about?" And I was like, "Coffee," and he was just like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Coffee's important."
This podcast.
I know. He was so serious. He had the hat on. He was serious. And I was like, I'm like, okay, you can have your serious podcast, but I like to laugh. I like to have a good time. And of course, maintain my professionalism when I have to. But I just want to I do think that there's more sides to one person than just being serious and being professional. I think you can have a good time and get your point across. But yeah, it was so funny. I thought that was hysterical. But yes, my podcast is fun. It's really a lot of laughing. We joke and we talk about coffee, because coffee is a great vehicle to drive conversation. And that's usually how we start out. When you meet someone, you say, well, let's go grab a cup of coffee. And that's what we do. We have the coffee. We talk about all the neighborhoods in Ocean County, Monmouth, and all over New Jersey. We really highlight the neighborhoods. And then we also talk about real estate and give some tips and some tricks about real estate. So that's what we talk about. And that drops every Wednesday on Facebook Live, as well as YouTube. And that's the local neighborhood experts, Sharon and Kyle. And I'm Sharon.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on that. So if you guys ever want to watch that episode, I think you're maybe the second podcast I've been on. I'm always the one hosting, so I appreciate you guys having me on. But yeah, Sharon, always appreciate your insight, the laughs, everything like that. Sharon McKenzie, Estate Sales. Be sure to look out for it, and we'll talk to you soon.